Hey guys, as you can see from the graph, you bring a lot of traffic to your store. However, a lot of that is wasted along the way, and only a few of them will ever end up to the end, which is a transaction. So you pay a lot of people to come to your store, and so much of that potential is wasted. So you're just working hard, and they drop off along the way. Now, let's tackle this problem. This is known as abandonment, and you will never have a 0% abandonment. This 100% will never transfer over to here, but you can definitely fix a lot of things along the way. You can make a huge difference in terms of how successful your store is. Now this here that you are seeing is the traditional funnel, and there you can map out steps from here and look into your performance with each of these steps. So these are pretty typical numbers that you would have on an e-commerce store. Of course, if you are guiding paid traffic to a product page, this number would be higher compared to this one. So it is always a little bit case-by-case basis. If you are in fashion, your add to cart is probably higher than the purchases. So there, it is something to consider. So don't take this at face value. Now this is a traditional funnel. I made a video about traditional funnels being broken, and this is how I see it. So if we flip the traditional marketing funnel or an e-commerce funnel, we see that the customer actually has to climb each step, and to get the ultimate yes, the sale, they have to be able to say yes to all the different steps along the way. And that's what we're going to tackle here, and how to optimize this journey here. There's traditionally three types of abandonment when it comes to e-commerce. You have the browse abandonment, so somebody is browsing a product and then just leaves. Then the next step after that is when you have added the product to the cart, and then you abandon the cart. That's known as cart abandonment. Alright, so this is cart abandonment, and the next step here is checkout abandonment. So you come to this place, do the checkout, and then you abandon it. So this is checkout abandonment, and those are the three things that we are going to cover here. And the best way for you to understand your store's metrics, in my view, is Google Analytics. So there, if you have set it up right, you will have a shopping behavior analysis report. You can also get this data from Shopify. It's a little bit of a personal preference, but here I just like how this is laid out in Google Analytics in a visual way. In the very beginning, I showed you a funnel, and this is basically that funnel with an additional step of checkout. So you have these numbers that you could input into this funnel. So this is basically shopping behavior report, with the only difference being that you don't have the checkout step here in this funnel. But obviously you could build it out, and it helps to visualize this in order for you to then also understand it, but also to track it going forward. So if you are going forward or if you are going backward with this. So it's important to have a little bit of focus on these numbers and look at them over time. So now that we know our numbers, let's look into browse abandonment. So the first step here, before people have added anything to their bag or the cart. Now here it is often a relevancy issue or distraction issue. So I like to think of it in terms of this. So this is a very good model for optimizing for browse abandonment. You have your value proposition as the most important thing. So it matches their existing motivation. Then you have a clear offer, it's relevant to the visitor. Those are all on the positive side. Ideally, you have a little bit of urgency fueling the jet, fueling the sale, and you are able to minimize any distraction and anxiety there might be. Anxiety, for example, could be shipping times, could be shipping costs, could be the actual cost of the product, like some kind of trust issues, etc. Distractions could be alternative offers and not being able to present it that well. So if you are able to, for example, differentiate your product and your offering from the others, you'll have a little bit less distraction. Also, things like slow loading pages can cause anxiety and kind of be distracting as well. So it's a little bit of a combination. But here, it's often confusion, not really vibing with what is being offered, and not understanding why they should buy or understand like things like shipping, etc. So here, the impression we want to make is that this site has exactly what I'm looking for, and it makes it easy to do business with them. So there's no doubts causing people to stop at this point. Okay, that's product page abandonment. Usually this is more if a business level issue if this happens. Because then you need to look into, do people want my products? Do they vibe with the brand? Do I have the right visitors? Those kinds of things become more important. They haven't shown any interest because they haven't really added to their cart. They just browsed the product. All right, moving on to cart abandonment. So when people add a product to their bag and leave at this point. Here, the way I like to think about it is kind of like this, like people have come to a crossroads here and they need to make a decision which way to go. Now, they can go backward. Backward is always safe. They can go sideways. They can look into other products. They can go left and look into the competing offers from other sites. There's a lot of possible opportunities, or they can go forward as well. They can go forward fast, they can go forward slow, but they have all these options available. Now, if you're in a crossroad with 4 options, it's unlikely that you choose the right one every single time. So people, even if they have a little bit of momentum, they still have things holding them back and things pushing them forward. So there, we typically want to get out of their way and let them momentum carry them over to purchasing. To me, illustrating this is a good model here. So you are trying to nudge people to take an action. There's the initial motivation. People are there for a reason. They clicked on an ad. They took a little bit of time at least to come to the site. They have read through. They have added a product to their cart. That is already quite a bit of momentum, and that is quite a bit of interest that they have shown. Now, they are being hit by a lot of friction. They have to pay. They have to go through the checkout. They have to worry about shipping. They have to worry about different costs. They have to be worried about their credit card being swiped, these kind of things. So there's a lot of friction always in e-commerce. You won't be able to completely eliminate it ever. And if you did, then you'd of course make a ton of sales. People would have no reason to buy at all. No reason not to buy at all. Because basically they would only have an upside. And the most common friction is price. So if you want to charge for your products, you're always going to have a price. And then, of course, they already have existing motivation as well. So these are going to battle and then seeing which one wins. And oftentimes friction, even if it's less strong, it becomes stronger here when you have to take an action. So a good model to think through and thinking what are the visitors' thoughts and emotions, etc., when they go through this process. All right, but cart abandonment is an interesting area because there's a lot of research on it. And this is a very common thing that people have various different reasons for abandoning their carts. So some people are just looking. Some people have shipping cost and options problems. Some are just comparing prices. Some want to purchase elsewhere. Payment options, technical issues, a lot of different things. And here, what you like to think of here is, of course, you won't be able to eliminate all of these. But to the degree you can, you are almost perfecting your store. So if you are able to handle these objections in the right order, in the right way, you will have almost a perfect shop. So you want to think of this in terms of this. There's upsides are huge. The challenges are difficult to solve, but the upsides are huge as well. Here also, you can often find industry-related statistics as well when it comes to shopping cart abandonment. So these, for example, are some popular ones for clothing stores. So if you're looking on Gymshark here as an example, then these might be some for them. Maybe not a bad website functionality, since they have invested on that a lot. But there's a lot of other potential drivers. And for every store, this is a little bit different, of course, as well. Now we are moving to our next item. Just a side note here, both cart abandonment and checkout abandonment, they are calculated by dividing the total number of these completed transactions by the number of initiated actions. So, okay, we're going to look into checkout abandonment next. But before we do that, if you aren't already subscribed, make sure to do that right now. I know a lot of you haven't. I put a ton of very good content out there to improve your Shopify store and sales and success in general as an e-commerce merchant. But without further ado, let's continue on the checkout abandonment. So the way I like to think of this is that people are continuing their climb. So there's a final couple of yeses here to say yes to. So they have come all the way here, and now it is sort of go time. It's getting serious. Now we're asking for that payment and the final commitment. So far, it's been more like playful, fun and games type of thing. And now we see what they're made of. So let's do that. So we made a decision that we really like these leggings, and then going to the checkout. And by the way, the way these are calculated, these rates, the cart abandonment rate and the checkout abandonment rate have a fundamentally same calculation. Just divide the number of completed transactions by the number of initiated carts or initiated checkouts. So that's how you calculate the abandonment. And then you then subtract the results from 1 and then multiply by 100 to find the abandonment rate. So nothing more complicated than that. Now, here we are looking at this beautiful leggings here. And as you can see, it's a little bit of a dead end in many ways. Like it's a case where you don't have a ton of extra information here, nor should you. And you are sort of squeezing them to make a decision or to go back. So you have these 2 buttons here. They're the only 2 buttons where you can get to the next page. Here, in many ways, it's getting simple. So, will I get what I ordered when I expect it? Do I have any questions? Are there trust issues that I have still that aren't handled? Those kind of things. Can I return the item without any hassle if needed? And can I speak to a person if needed to? These kind of questions come up here when you are asking for the sale. And here are some of the stats for the checkout. So it's a little bit different than the cart one. Cart is more almost like a wish list. Like you can gather things there and it's not that serious. But here you have actually tried to complete the purchase, or you have moved toward the step where you are looking to complete the purchase. So here, some typical reasons, of course, like higher than expected costs, then the process is always too complicated, and these kind of things, trust issues, and oftentimes people might not be able to really verbalize it that well. So it can be trust issues that then turn into extra cost too high, that kind of a rationalization. So always treat these stats with a little bit of a grain of salt and try to look behind it. Now on the checkout, if you think of Shopify checkout, there's not really that much to optimize. You can optimize it a little bit, but most of the work has been done already. So if you are having trust issues at this point, then you probably should have considered adding testimonials on the before they got to the stage. Maybe some before after, some case studies, industry endorsements, award celebrity authority endorsements, mentions in the press, as seen on things, proof of how many customers you have, these kind of things. However, you can't really populate all of those into the checkout page. So sort of, if you are having those issues here, it is a symptom of a previous experience that is suboptimal. So we see that some people abandon carts and checkouts a lot on some stores, but there's pretty standard checkouts and carts. So it's not the checkout or the cart itself that is broken. It is the experience before that experience. So most of the work is already done. And here's how I like to think of this journey as a whole. So this is a model from Mech Labs. There's also that other model that was from there. Full credit to them. And here it states that your probability of getting the sale is the motivation of the user, plus the clarity of the value proposition, plus incentive to take action, minus friction, multiplied by 2. So this is multiplied for 4, 3, and 2, minus 2 anxiety. So anxiety typically occurs in the cart and checkout. And another good way to think through this is through buyer statements. What would the buyers say versus what would the abandoners say? So if you have a buyer statement could be that buying from this website was stress-free and I would gladly buy from you again. That would be a buyer statement. Or I am confident that this product is right for me. That would be a buyer statement. Then some other statements could be on the abandoner side. I believe this is not the right moment for me to make a purchase. I have a concern about shipping. I have a concern about product quality. My specific concerns haven't been overcome by the FAQ page. I don't understand what's going to happen once I complete the purchase. that's unclear to me. Or I don't trust that my credit card info would be safe here. Those kind of things. So there's a bunch of different reasons people could abandon it here. But that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You can also like the video, please, since you obviously like it, you watched it all the way to the end. And that is very impressive. You're definitely committed to your success. If you are already on the 6 and 7 figure range, we are interested in taking 1 or 2 clients right now. And you can go to growgurus.com/apply to see if that could be a good mutual fit to work with me and the team to optimize your store further. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.